Namaskar. I'm Jennifer Ghorui. I welcome you today to the first session of Human Anatomy in the Nutrition Counseling course. Today we will learn about the different elements that the human body is made up of, their various functions, and what their importance is. After this, we will also learn about the human brain, what its various functions are, and also its importance in our human body. It is very important to learn about the human body. If we want to understand nutrition correctly, it is necessary to know about the various important parts that our body is made up of. And what their functions are is also very important for us to learn. Today first we will learn about the elements that our body is made up of. Our body is made up of 4 elements. The first is water. Second, bones. Third, muscles or the muscular system. Fourth, fat or accumulated fat tissue. Let us repeat this once more. First of all, water. Secondly, bones. Third, muscles. And fourth, fats. It is believed that our body is made up of 60% water. The proportion of muscles in our body is 36 to 45% and that of fat is 20 to 25%. Now these muscles, they are our friends and the body fat is our enemy. Which means that if the proportion of enemies in our body increases, that is, if the proportion of body fat increases beyond a certain limit, then it could be disadvantageous for our body, which means we can fall ill easily. Which means now we have to understand that if the proportion of fat or the proportion of fat increases beyond the required limit, which is 20 to 25%, then it is not healthy for us at all. So now we have to make sure that if we want to stay healthy and stay away from diseases, then the proportion of muscles and fats in our body should be in the right balance. If the proportion of fats and muscles in our body, the balance of fat and muscles is correct, then it is easy for us to stay away from diseases. These days, it's commonly seen that the amount of fat in people is very high. Not only is the proportion of fat higher, but also the proportion of muscle is very low, which means that in our body, the enemies are more than the friends. Now that the enemies are more, our body cannot stay healthy and we fall ill easily. Now, if we want to stay healthy and keep away from diseases, then we have to maintain a balance between muscles and fats, that is to have them in the right proportion. So now we have seen that in order to keep our body healthy, then muscles and fats both should be in the right balance. So now this makes us think, what is the right proportion of muscle and fat? So fat or fat tissue in our body, in both men and women, should be less than 25%. So what did we learn today? That if we want to stay healthy, then the fat content in our body has to be lower than 25%. Now let's talk about muscles. What is the right proportion of muscles? The correct quantity of muscles is different for men and for women. In men, the proportion of muscles should be more than 45%, and in women, the proportion of muscles should be more than 36%. Now let us repeat this one more time. The fat content in our body should be less than 25%. The quantity of muscles in the body for men should be more than 45%, and quantity of muscles for women should be more than 36%. So now we have learned that if we want to stay healthy, then it is important to maintain the right balance of muscles and of fats in our body. We have also learned what is the right proportion of fats and muscles in order to maintain a healthy body. Now, in order to maintain the right balance, it is very important to have the right elements in our daily diet. 1. Proteins. 2. Vitamins. 3. Minerals. And 4. Fiber. If there is a deficiency of any of these 4 elements in our body, then we are unable to maintain the right balance required. We can catch diseases easily, and the proportion of muscles and fats will not be correctly maintained. Now, not only does the deficiency of these elements affect our health, but it also affects our hair. Due to the deficiency of these elements, the roots of our hair become weak. And weak roots means hair fall. Now all of us know that we like to have black hair, thick and lustrous beautiful hair. So how do we keep our hair beautiful? So that these 4 elements, that is proteins, vitamins, minerals and fiber, should be a part of our daily diet. So today, in this session of Human Anatomy, we have learned that in our body, fats and muscles both should be present in the correct proportion. We have also learned that to maintain this balance, 4 elements are very necessary: proteins, vitamins, minerals and fiber. We must consume these in our daily diet. Now moving forward in today's series of Human Anatomy, we will talk and learn about the functioning of our brain and what is the importance of the brain in the day-to-day activity of our body. The brain is the most important part of our body. The brain is situated in the upper part of our body, that is inside the head. The brain controls and regulates all the functions and the workings of our body, which means everything is controlled by the brain. Let us now simplify this a bit. Just like a CPU is fitted in a computer, and this CPU, via the keyboard, accepts information or accepts orders, then processes this information and displays the output on the monitor. Similarly, the brain is the CPU of our body. The brain from the various parts of the body picks up sensory information or sensory orders and processes it and tells us immediately what to do and prepares me to respond in the next moment. Now I will give you a simple example. Let's assume that my hand touches a hot object. Then my hand gives my brain a sensory information. My brain processes this sensory information and directs me that I should immediately move my hand away. Come, let us learn some more about brain development and the working and the importance of the brain. Development of the brain begins in the mother's womb itself. Research has shown that 70% brain development of a newborn child happens in the womb of the mother, which means even before the child is born. In the first 3 months, that is from the first trimester to the 3rd trimester, that is the last 3 months, maximum brain development takes place. From birth to the age of 2 years, there is a further 15% development of the brain, and from the age of 2 years to the age of 6 years, 90% of the brain development has taken place. Now let us repeat all the important points that we have learned about the human anatomy today. Our body is made up of 4 elements. First one being water, second, bones, third, muscles or muscular system, fourth, fat or different kinds of fat tissue. If we want our body to be healthy, then both muscles and fats have to be present in the right proportion. The quantity of fats in our body should be less than 25%, and the quantity of muscles in men should be more than 45%, and in women the quantity of muscles should be more than 36%. The brain is the controller and regulator of all the functions that are performed for the day-to-day activity of our body. Research has shown that 70% brain development of a newborn child happens in the womb of the mother, which means even before the child is born. From birth to the age of 2 years, there is a further 15% development of the brain. From the age of 2 years to the age of 6 years, 90% of brain development has taken place. Now, let us discuss the questions and answers of today's session of the human anatomy. Question 1. Our body is made up of how many elements? Our body is made up of 4 elements: water, bones, muscles and fats. Question 2. In our body, what is the right proportion of fat? The right proportion of fats in our body should be less than 25%. Question 3. What should be the right proportion of muscles in our body? In our body, the right proportion of muscles for men should be more than 45% and for women it should be more than 36%. Question 4. In the mother's womb, how much brain development of the child takes place? Almost 70% of brain development of the child takes place in the mother's womb. Question 5. From the time of birth to the age of 2, how much brain development takes place in a child? From the time of birth to the age of 2 years, a child's brain develops almost a further 15%. Question 6. By the age of 6 years, how much has the brain of the child already developed? By the age of 6 years, almost 90% of the child's brain has already developed.